Hi guys, welcome to another day with XinaBox, another episode of XinaBox Daily. Today we're gonna program a little bit in Arduino. It's not gonna be as hectic as yesterday. It's probably not even gonna be as long, but I kind of just want to show when I have to program something, how I do it in Arduino. I'm been programming since the 70s, so I've been through a lot of different programming languages, and it's very difficult for me to remember the syntax of all the different languages. So there's kind of a structure to them, so you get the pretty quickly, but it's not like I'm super in Python or Arduino or any of these languages, because I've been through COBOL and PL1 and Algol or Fortran and on more. So you kind of tend to pick them up over the time. So Arduino, what I'm actually gonna do is that, sorry, I'm gonna program the CS11 here. So hope you can see it here, the CS11, and I'm gonna program that in Arduino. So what I had here was I had the CS11, of course. I'm not gonna use the SD card that sits on the back for anything. I'm gonna program, use the OLED here, and then I have this specific UI01. I'm just gonna demonstrate it why we made this one here. So this is a interface instead of an on-the-go cable. So I can actually put a keyboard in here, which I'm actually gonna show, and then I just have a normal power cable here. So when I program it, obviously I need to connect it to something else that I can program it with. So I have a IPO3 here, and I actually connect that like this thing here, so I can, and then I plug it into my computer. So let's do that, and let's get the computer screen on here. So we do like this. So now you should be able to see my Arduino program here I made. Okay, so it's not long. It's kind of it can nearly fit on the screen. If I scroll this a little bit down, then we should have the whole program on the screen. So here we have it. So what this little program do is that it uses a keyboard library that is developed by Arduino that runs on our CS11, and then it's gonna take the ODO1 using our own ODO1 library, and it's gonna print out whatever I type on a keyboard. And the reason for doing that is that I actually had a barcode scanner. There's a keyboard activated barcode scanner, and I didn't manage to get it set up so it could operate as a keyboard before that episode. So I'm just gonna use the keyboard here. But the point for me here is actually to tell you how I program. So I know I have to use the keyboard stuff, and I need to use the ODO1. So how do I remember this? Well, so once you install the different libraries, then you will have examples for each of the different libraries. So because I said I'm gonna use a CS11, a same D chip that sits on a CS11, it automatically comes up with examples here for that. So here's a number of different examples for this specific CS11. And one of them is called USB host, because what it does is that it converts the USB that sits on a CS11 from being kind of like an input thing to be a host. So you can connect an input thing to it instead. So there are a number of different programs. There's a mouse controller, there's a keyboard controller, and there's a terminal test and some description thing. So I'm using the keyboard controller here, not hopefully a big surprise. So so that one, when I open that, gives me the code that I need. So if I look at this program here, it's a little comment, then it goes in and say you have to, and all that. So this is the 3 statements I have up here. Then there's a lot of commentary about what you press. It's kind of like a complete program that would tell you what you, when you press the key and when you release the key. So when you put the finger down and when the key goes up again, and it will say pressed and released, and it will say, you know, ORM code associated, and then you have all the modifiers. Modifiers is like when you press shift down before you press the key down, or else, or a left command, or right control, or all those different keys. When you press them down first and then press a key down, then of course the key has another function. So yeah, I can get all that out, but I'm not interested in all that because of my concept here of actually just using it as a barcode reader. I'm not gonna use a full keyboard. I'm just gonna read the numbers and alphanumeric characters, normal characters. Then it sets it up here to display it out on a serial port, because of course this is an exam program, doesn't know that I'm gonna connect the audio one. So, and then there's something here to say USB task. So I have that down here. The setup here is different from the setup because I'm not printing out to a serial monitor, I'm printing out on my audio one. And of all the stuff here, I'm just having, when it says here, up here, print key, and that's being called in these functions here. So I'm just using the key pressed here instead of calling that function. I'm dropping it all and I'm just printing out the get key here. So you can see that's the same here and here. So that's a function I'm using, and get release doesn't matter. I mean, you press down a key, that's cool, and otherwise. Okay, so let's see how that that plays out. So that's my keyboard controller part here. Okay, then I'm gonna open the example for the audio one, and I installed the audio one library. So it's called a little bit different today. It's called Arduino Audio One. So you will normally find it up here, but I have it installed a long time ago. So I have this old one. So it's back then we called it X Audio One, and there's a hello world because I just have to remember how to print something out on the screen. So we have the hello world coming up here, and in that one I'm just gonna go in and figure out how do I set it up and how do I print something out. So here we have it. We just move it a little bit up here. So I have to include these two, and then I have to start up the audio one. So there's like these three lines similar to I have these three lines over there. Then I have to use wire. So wire is the I2C. It's called wire in Arduino. So I have that. And then there's a begin, and there's like a ×2 here. So big letters. And then it prints audio one test. I'm gonna print barcode. And then there's a delay time and a clear. What I'm doing is I'm setting it back to print in normal height again. And then there's this function I got from the keyboard thing, from the keyboard program over here. It says if it doesn't initialize, then it should say some comment. So I do the same here. I just print it out on the screen. And I have a delay of 20 from the keyboard program, and that's it. So that's how I did it. I mean, almost every little thing that comes here, I copied over directly. The only thing that I have changed is that up here, this thing here actually print out the numerical value of the key. So for example, space is hex 20 decimal 32. 0 is hex 60 and so on. Decimal 60, I can't remember, but anyhow, it prints out the alphanumeric value, the ASCII value of the character, and I don't want that, but that's the integer that comes back from this function. So what I do here is that this is called, I'm casting it. So I cast it as a char. So what I'm saying is that I don't want to have this interpret as a numeric value. I want to have it interpret as the character. So I put that in front. So when it comes back from this function here, it comes as a character and not like the ASCII value. There's many way of doing this thing here. You could also put it into a variable that was a registered as a char variable. Then it will do the same, and there's could convert it into, you know, using other function. I do it this way, but that's the only part that I actually put in this entire program that I actually didn't somehow figure out from the two other example programs. So I'm closing these two here, and then I have to program it. So here I have the device that I have to program. I put it into the IP03, and then what I'm gonna do is that I have to double click on this one here. There's a little reset button, and when I double click on that, the blue light, and I don't know if it's fully visible here, but the blue light, you can see there's a light blinking there. So that light blinks, that means it's in programming mode. And I go into tools here, and I of course selected that I want to program the CS11 in my Arduino here. So here we go. So there is the CS11, and then there's the port that this is to. So it figured that out from before. So what I do is I press upload here, and then in the bottom of the screen here, it compiles the stuff, and then it's gonna try to upload the program once it's finished compiling. So here we go. It tried to find a port to program it in, and as given point here, it finds the port that it want to respond, and then it uploads it, and then it disconnected. You can see up here, there's it's disconnected here. So now that we got that far here, let me just change back to a picture of me here. So now I'm gonna take this and unplug it. So unplug it with the programming part, and then I have here my other IUO1. So what I have connected to that is I have a keyboard, and I have this IUO1 here, and now I'm got caught here, sorry, and then the other cable is the power cable. So I'm simply just connected it in here. So now let's see if you can actually see this thing here. And I'm using this camera because the other camera I normally use is not very good at showing the screen because it flickers too much. So you can see here it says barcode. Let me see if I actually can get a little bit closer here. So it shows barcode here. And then I'm actually gonna start typing on the keyboard here. And yeah, I think you can just see there, getting a bit closer. And there we have it. So there. So you can see here I managed to type from the keyboard my name here on the keys. Of course I can also type capital letters and all that, but I'm using the one hand here. So that's the program. And when you otherwise, let me just change back here. When you otherwise want to program in Arduino, it's a matter of finding the right library here. So I used the ODO1 library from our own library pool, and when I installed the CS11, it came with the keyboard library, so that was there. And if you want to program another xChip or something like that, you have to install a library from there. So let me open up a browser here and just show you how you do that. So if you go to github.com/XinaBox like it's suggested there, then you get all our different libraries. And our Arduino libraries are called Arduino. So we have three types of libraries, as I talked about the other day. We have the MakeCode libraries, so they're called PXT. So if you want to use it in microbits, then you have to manually go in and add the microbits library. If you use our MakeCode, then they're already pre-installed. So that's the PXT. Then we have the Python libraries, I showed that yesterday. So that's of course for Python stuff. And then we have Arduino. So here's like the iX03. So if I go up here and say Arduino, then we get all the different Arduino libraries here. So there is plenty if we keep scrolling down here. So there's like 3 pages with Arduino libraries. So you go in and find the library you want to use. And if I go and say, for example, our weather sensor SW1, then we have it here. And it says it's a library for humidity and so on. So there's a picture of the library that talks a little bit about that it's a BME 280 here. And then if I scroll a little bit further up, let me get my face out here. You can see here it says what the requirement is. So you have to have the Xcore library, and you have to have Arduino installed, minimum that version. You can find a data sheet about it here. And how you install it, it suggests that you read how to install it here. This is in the new tab here. I'm just going to show you here how you install a decent library. So import the zip file. So importing a zip file library here. So it tells you how you do that. So you download the file. So as I showed you yesterday, if you go up here and where the green button is, you can then download the zip, and then you get that on your computer, and you then upload it as described here on the Arduino libraries. So when you start with Arduino, when you start with Python, when you start to make code, start with something that doesn't necessarily include any of our xChips, just to kind of like get it working. So for example, I started with the ODO1 Hello World. So that of course includes an xChip, but you do that first, you get it to work, you see that Hello World comes out, then you know that the device is connected properly, it's working properly, it's not broken, the connectors is working, you compiled it, you worked. So that's Hello World there. When you do the keyboard, then you take the default keyboard program and you manage to see that the keyboard stuff comes up on your screen, not necessarily on the ODO1. And then you start combining the different things. So small steps when we program in this thing here is definitely the way I want to see the programming here. Tomorrow I'm probably gonna go a little bit further into the make code part. So I'm gonna show what the difference is when you want to do make code programming with our different libraries with the microbit. Then I'm gonna show you maker.makecode, which is the official place to program in MakeCode, and then we have our own makecode.xinabox.cc, where we have libraries pre-installed to make it a bit easier. So that is for tomorrow. So for today, I hope you enjoyed this one here, and I see you again tomorrow.